Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. How are you? How are you? I am Chantel Biddings, licensed clinical professional counselor here in Chicago, Illinois, and I am so excited to talk to you all today about managing grief and loss during the holiday season. Managing grief and loss during the holiday season. And so, this is a topic that I try to make sure that I go live on every year because I realize that it is so necessary and so important just to have the conversation, just to have the conversation. There are so many people that have experienced so much grief and loss this year and in past years, but especially this year, that have reached out for help, that is have asked for tools and tips on how to navigate this season when there are so many emotions, so many feelings, so many thoughts that come to the surface as we embark upon the holiday season of 2022. And so today I wanted to just share with you all. Let's have a discussion. Feel free to go ahead and start typing in your questions in the comments section. Hopefully, you've allowed StreamYard to use your name so I can see your comments and your questions. Go ahead and allow that. Type your comments, type your questions into the chat so that I can answer some comments or questions that you may have. Also, if you know someone that is struggling right now, that is having a difficult time, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and tag them as well in the comments or share this to your own personal page. Share it so that we can get as much help as we can for everyone. I want everyone to be okay during this season. And also, if you're not okay, that's okay too. But I want you to have some tools and some tips to be able to best navigate this season in your life. Okay. So I see you typing in the comments, I see you tapping people. Thank you so much for tagging everyone that may need this help. Thank you, everyone that has joined. I love you all. You know I do. And so I am ready to jump right in. So, questions in the chat. I see you. I see you. Go ahead and let's get it going. The first thing we want to talk today about is that everyone experiences grief in a different way, and that's okay. All right. Everyone experiences grief in a different way, and that is okay. We have so many people out here telling you how you should grieve, what you should be doing, what would be best for you. But the best tip that I can give you today is to feel all your feelings, think all your thoughts, experience the grief in the way that works best for you. So we have so many people that says talking about it helps me. If I can really sit down and express what I'm thinking about, how I'm feeling, what's going on in my mind, what I'm feeling in my heart, that is helpful for me. And that's great if that's your method. But there are so many other people that say that sitting in silence helps me. Sitting by myself, having my memories, having my thoughts, having my feelings helps me to be okay. And that's fine too. So everyone experiences grief in a different way. And the caveat to that is that we cannot judge our grief or our experience of grief or our expression of grief against someone else's. So just because maybe you don't see them crying, or maybe you don't see them posting pictures on social media of their loved one, or you don't see them talking about their loved one, it doesn't mean that they don't miss them just as much. It doesn't mean that their grief is not as real as yours. And it doesn't mean that they are not hurting in the same way. So oftentimes people that are not very expressive with their grief, they don't get checked on as much, right? We don't do as much texting or calling or stopping by or sending them things because they don't do this as much. Yes, Christopher, I'm on YouTube as well. It is called A Time to Bloom on YouTube. So go ahead and go over there as well or share it on YouTube. So, yes, there are so many people that are not as expressive with their grief, but it doesn't mean that they're not hurting. It doesn't mean that they're not grieving, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't check in on them. We hear so many times, check on your strong friends, but I want to remind you to check on your quiet friends as well. Okay, check on the ones that are not speaking up as much. Okay, I see a comment in the chat or a question in the chat that says, what can you do to help someone who experiences a grief in a different way than you, but they are still hurting? So the answer to that is be there for them. We know losing someone is never easy. I don't care how it is expressed or not expressed. It's not an easy thing to go through. And so what you can do is be there for support. I know a lot of people think that being there for support means asking someone or texting them, what can I do to help? And I want to tell you that all the time, while that's great, that's a nice thought, that's not always helpful, because in the midst of grief, you don't really know what you need. So sometimes someone sending you a Starbucks gift card just out of the blue is helpful. You know, if it's something that you enjoy, something that you like, someone saying, hey, I'm getting ready to go out to dinner. Do you want to go with me? Offer a suggestion rather than putting the onus on that person to figure it out, what they might need or what they might want. Because all the time we may not know it. We may not know what will be helpful, but you offering to come pick me up and take me to coffee might be amazing. You offering to drop off some groceries at my house might be wonderful. You offering to pick me up and take me to a movie might be just what I need in that moment. And so let's create a solution. Let's not put more work on the person that is experiencing grief and loss. Let's give them something that they may need, they may like, and let them say, no, I don't feel like doing it today, or maybe next week. Whatever it is, just offer them something rather than have them try to create or think of something that might be okay for you. So I know I have an excellent tribe of friends. And so I experienced some loss this year. And what they did is, instead of asking how could they help me, um, they just sent me some money, or they sent me a gift card to get a massage or get my nails done. The things that I like, they sent me a Starbucks gift card because they know that's what I like. And so it's important that you have people around you that know you. And so if you're those people, that you have friends that are experiencing something, just send them something. I think that is so helpful. Just send them something. It helps them to know that you're thinking about them. It helps them to know that you care. It helps them to know that in that moment, they are important to you and you're willing to do whatever you need to do to support them in however you can. And so that is really important. Don't make the person work for it. Send them something. Let them do with it what they want to do, because everyone does experience grief in a different way. And again, that is okay. The second thing I wanted to talk today about is that time doesn't heal everything. Time doesn't heal everything. I know we've heard the age old thought that time will heal it. You know, time will heal the hurts. But time doesn't always heal everything. Sometimes you may need time and treatment, time and help, time and counseling, time and therapy, time and a support group. That is okay as well. We need to be okay with reaching out for help and support when it seems as though we are not okay and we are not getting okay. Grief is definitely a process, but we want you to grieve in a healthy way. So if you are grieving and you are in a space where you cannot do your daily functioning, you cannot get out of bed, you're not eating well, or you're overeating, you're not doing well at work, you're not doing well at school, you may not be grieving in a healthy way. You are not functioning normally as you would normally function. Not someone else's normal, but your normal. And so that is when you need to be okay with reaching out for some support and some help. When you seem like are struggling and you're continuing to struggle, it's okay for you to talk to a therapist. It's okay for you to get a counselor. It is okay for you to reach out for the support that you may need. There are a number of avenues that you can go through to get some support. But please do not continue to feel as though you must suffer in silence. Do not suffer in silence. The grieving process is already difficult enough without you trying to feel as though you have to be strong, you have to tough it out, you have to just man up or woman up, put your good big girl panties on and just tunnel through it or push through it. You do not have to do that. Please get you some support if you are in need. And so, how do you know if you're grieving improperly? That's a great question. Number one, again, you are not functioning normally. So the things that you would usually do to help you to feel better, they're not working anymore. If you are a person that has typically been a morning person, but it takes you an hour or 2 hours to get yourself together and get out of the house, you know that you may not be grieving in a healthy way. If you disengage, if you isolate yourself from those that love you and support you, and you feel like you have to be alone in order to be okay, and that's not normal for you, then you're probably not grieving in a healthy way. So, what does grieving in a healthy way mean? Grieving in a healthy way means that yes, sometimes you are sad, but you may not be sad every day, all day. Yes, sometimes you may cry, but you're not crying every day, all day. Yes, sometimes you may not feel like doing anything, but that can't be your everyday, all day, because we still have things that we have to get done. I mean, we still have things that are on our schedule, on our calendars that we may have to attend to, people in our family that we need to talk to, things that we have to do. And so when your normal becomes abnormal, that's when you need to reach out and get some support. And again, therapy is not going to fix it, but it is a tool to help you to manage it. You never really get over losing someone, but you learn how to live with it. And so that is why having these conversations every year around this time is so important to me. That's why it's something that I always prioritize around Thanksgiving and the Christmas holiday, is because holidays are difficult when you have lost someone. And especially if you are used to seeing that person, talking to that person, navigating life with that person around this time of year. A lot of people feel like I can't celebrate because they're not here anymore. And that's a hard place to be in. But I want you to know that you have support. There are people that love you, that are people there that are willing to be there for you, and you will make it through it. You will absolutely make it through it. And so, yes, there are people that are not criers. Maybe they haven't cried. And all of the time, crying may not be their expression of grief. However, they may have written about it, they may have journaled about it, or they may have experienced crying about a different situation that triggers that emotional response. And so I said earlier, I experienced a loss this year, and I'm going to share this story with you. I know everyone, a lot of people have watched the Netflix movie that was provoking a lot of tears. It was getting us really good, and you all know the Netflix movie I'm talking about. And so I was watching that scene. I was those few episodes, and when the person actually died in that Netflix series, that triggered me. Like I didn't even know that I was in a space where I was having so much emotion until that happened. And when I tell you that scene had me weeping, I mean, weeping, like I could not pull it together. Yes, you know the series, Tiffany. That's exactly it. So, yes, I was weeping, could not get it together. And my husband had happened to be watching the movie with me. He had left the room. He came back in, and he's like, "Oh my God, you still crying?" I'm like, "I cannot pull it in." And he's like, "Okay, I see what's happening now. Yes, this is all the grief finally coming down. It was triggered because a lot of time when someone is grieving, we have so much to do. There is so much that goes on with the work of a person dying that you have so much to do, so many arrangements to make, so many trips to plan, hotels to book, things that you have to do that you don't necessarily have time to sit with your emotions, time to sit with your feelings. And so sometimes you are triggered by a movie. Sometimes you are triggered by a song. Sometimes you are triggered by going back to a place, going to church, going to a restaurant, going to an outing that you usually would have experienced with that person. And sometimes it triggers you and you find yourself in a space of complete emotional overhaul and you don't know what's going on. But that is the grief sometimes being triggered by an everyday occurrence. And that will happen. So sometimes holidays are the trigger for some people. Smells, foods can be triggers from some people. And so it's okay. However, your grief is hitting you in the moment, it's okay. I use the analogy sometimes that grief can be like a soft wave. If you think about the ocean, grief can be like a soft wave that sometimes just hits your feet as you're walking along. It's just a soft wave, it hits your feet, maybe your ankles get wet. And other times, grief can be like a huge wave that swallows you whole. I mean, it completely takes you under and you don't even expect it to happen. So we all experience grief in different ways. Oh, I love that, Shannon. That grief is a gentleman, he will wait for you. Yes. So we have the stages of grief, but again, everyone does not experience it in the same way, and everyone does not experience it at the same time or the same pace as everyone else. And so you have to give yourself grace to feel your feelings when they come. Make room for them. Don't try to push them down. Make room for your feelings. Sit in it, experience it, feel it, and then allow it to pass because it will. It will. It will pass. How do we know the difference between grief and depression? That is a great question because a lot of times people say, I'm still grieving, when often they are depressed. They have often gotten to a stage where they are not functioning well. They are not eating the way they usually do. They're not sleeping. And the way you know it's depression is that your day to day functioning is impaired. So it's pervasive. It's not just when you get home you cry, it's that you're crying at work. You can't function. You're not completing your task. Maybe you are in danger of failing at school. Maybe you get put on probation at work. Things are just not functioning well. Your relationships are suffering. That is when you know that you are experiencing, maybe it's gone over to depression. But again, that's okay too, because we are going to get some help and we're going to get some assistance. So when you get to that space and you're feeling like things are not okay, I am not doing well, be okay with reaching out for support. Reaching out for support. And again, I am so glad that you are on here. You are asking these questions because I know that it is not often that we get the opportunity to speak with a therapist, to speak with someone that deals with this on a regular everyday basis and be able to get our questions answered. So thank you so much for asking the questions, because the questions that you are asking are questions that someone else needs to know the answer to. So again, I appreciate you so much because the questions that you are asking is helping someone else. Absolutely, absolutely. And so, how do we get help? Where do I go to get help, Chantel? What do I do? Because again, I can't see everybody. I can't be everybody's therapist, but what I can do is help you to find some assistance. So, there are a couple of places that you can go to get some help. One is therapyforblackgirls.com. The other is therapyforblackmen.org. And there is another one called griefshare.org that I'm going to put up on the screen that is extremely helpful when you are grieving. Griefshare.org is a wealth of information, wealth of knowledge for people that are grieving. It definitely helps you to get support from people that are in the same space or navigating the same world that you are navigating. Because again, it becomes a different world. When you have to navigate this world without your loved one, the world looks different, it feels different, you experience it different. And so we have to make sure that we continue to get support. GriefShare actually has support groups that you can log into from your home and do a virtual support group. They have some in person as well, but I know since COVID, a great majority of their groups are virtual groups. And there is nothing like being alongside someone that knows what you may be experiencing, right? Because they may not know your exact journey because they didn't lose who you lost, but they kind of know a little bit about your journey and they can give you some tools and some tips. Yes, Chris, life will never be the same. It's going to be different. It's totally different when you're in a space where you call someone at the same time every day. And so when that time comes about, you're used to picking up the phone and having that conversation, or you're used to coming to into a space and seeing that person's face. It's very, very different. And so, yes, we may continue to grieve for a while. However, the thing is that we have to learn how to live with the grief. The grief cannot become your life. You have to learn how to live with the grief. Again, you'll never get over losing your mom, but you will learn how to live with it. You will learn how to cope with it. And that is the goal. That is the goal of everything that we're talking about today, that we need to learn how to live with it, how to navigate life in this new space without our loved one. And again, as I said before, it is okay if you are not okay, but we have to learn how to get the tools and the tips that we need to better navigate this experience. So, again, for therapy, click into www.therapyforblackgirls.com, www.therapyforblackmen.org. Find you a therapist, find you someone to talk to, find someone to help you through this journey. And as you're grieving, definitely check out griefshare.org. It is especially helpful for people experiencing grief and loss. Okay. And so these are therapy tools. I want to give you some therapeutic things that you can do as well. So there are certain things that we do that are therapeutic. They're not therapy, but they are therapeutic. So, for instance, walking, taking some time every day to experience nature, to be outside, to get some fresh air, to exercise is an excellent therapeutic thing that you can do to help yourself when you are grieving. Journaling is also a therapeutic thing that you can do when you are grieving. Talking to a friend or a loved one or someone that knows that person very well can also be therapeutic. I see someone say, get a puppy. Yes, support animals can absolutely be therapeutic. And notice I am saying therapeutic because I want to remind you of the fact that they do not replace therapy. They can help, but they do not replace therapy. Praying, yes, praying is helpful. Praying will comfort you. Praying will support you. But you can also pray and go to therapy. Amen. You can also pray and go to therapy. You can be saved and love the Lord and yes, go to therapy. So please do those things that are helpful for you, but also make space for therapy. And I always say, it's for me, I use the language, you deserve to go to therapy. I don't necessarily tell people you need to go to therapy, but I say you deserve to go to therapy. You deserve to go to a safe space where you can be heard, where your needs and your wants are top priority, where you have someone that is dedicating that 1 hour just to you, just to hear how you feeling, just to help you navigate through the process. Therapists actually come alongside you and help you to walk out this walk. We can't fix it, but we can absolutely give you some tools to help manage it a little bit better. So I want everyone to do themselves a favor and find a therapist. Find someone that can help you. Yes, Dr. Bellamy is on here. She said you may not have to, but it's definitely a benefit. Absolutely, it is a benefit. So I want you all to take these tools and tips. Hopefully, take this support. Look at the websites that I suggested for you, and do whatever you need to do to navigate this season a little bit better. Hopefully, this has been helpful to you all. If you need me, as usual, I do not mind answering questions. Email me, send me a message to my website. I absolutely do not mind. Those of you that have my phone number, you can call me. But go ahead and do what you need to do to be well. You are entitled to all of your feelings, all of your emotions during this season. Honor them, honor that person the best way you know how. And let's use all of this to be better. Let's support each other. Let's love on each other a little bit more during this time. Let's extend grace to each other a little bit more. And let's go through this season with some grace and some mercy for each other. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. I have held you all long enough. Thank you so much for joining on this live. Again, please share it with someone that may benefit from it. And we will talk again soon. Be well, everyone.